Well, welcome one and all to wonderful Oldham on a lovely sunny day with a blue sky. I don't want to be too negative, but having just arrived and with sincere apologies to the good denizens of Oldham, but I have a feeling this particular little video might not be perhaps the most, well, what can we say, uplifting, but not to worry. Only political statement of this particular one is that I'm very surprised that the bingo hall behind is still allowed to keep that name. I'll go no further. Let's head off and see what the town has to offer. Oh, it seems I was a little bit judgmental. There's something for everyone at your local Mecca Bingo. Ah, there's an easy way to play electronically. Not especially riveting stuff, but the Oldham Leisure Centre, completed not too long ago, with opposite the Oldham College, which when I worked here for an agency, that was one of our clients. We've got the Civic Centre and the local government buildings, council offices, and what's colloquially referred to as the Oldham eyesore connected to the council and Civic Centre. The front of the council offices, Civic Centre in all its brutalist glory. Again, wonderfully constructive cycle lanes that nobody appears to be using. Gosh, this thing really is a monster. This seems to be a bit of a complicated transport hub going on here. We've got on the left one part of the bus station, and then on the other side of the Civic Centre there seems to be another bus station. Oh, right. The lights have gone out on Bright House. That was one of those establishments where if you wanted a £300 television, you could buy it on the Never Never for about £1,300 over 2 years. This is the local large venue attached to the Civic Centre, the Queen Elizabeth Hall. And I remember many years ago in the late 70s, took my late father to see local wrestling legend Marty Jones take down fellow Mancunian Rollerball Rocco. And having been there and seen the blood, there was no way it was fixed. And then NHS Centre. Oldham has a number of famous firsts and quite a lot of famous residents who have possibly, well, with apologies to current Oldham residents who may have escaped, but back in November 77, 10th of November, the Oldham General Hospital, that has now become the Royal Oldham Hospital, saw the very first birth of test tube baby. And staying on a medical theme, the tubular bandage was invented here in Oldham in 1961. And indie rockers, the Inspiral Carpets, they hail from Oldham. And fast food was invented in Oldham. I kid you not. Yes, in 1860, the very first commercially fried chip, not just one by itself, of course, but was fried here and presented on sale to the general public. And hey presto, fast food was born. And back in 1884, Yates's Wine Lodge, the very first in the country, opened here in Oldham. And on the subject of food, albeit not fast, rag pudding, very well-known Lancashire pot, was invented here in Oldham. It consists of, and I must look down just to give you the ingredients, it consists of suet, not my cup of tea, flour and beef. And they take their name from the cloths that they are wrapped in to cook them. Rag pudding, fair enough. Now, please brace yourselves as we're about to burst out onto the main pedestrianised shopping thoroughfare in the centre of the town. And as usual, yes, a little bit of Tudor stuff going on. But here's the main area. There's Tommy Field, the shopping little centre up there. Or it might be a market, I'm not too sure. We have an orchestra here on the left. And then in the sunshine, the other part of the town. Let's pop up the top and be nosy. with see what Tommy feels is. Yes, as I suspected, it's the market hall in Oldham. As we can see, it seems to be suffering from the malaise that is retail shopping. And I presume this means once upon a time there was a trader here. Gosh, what an absolute shame. Yes, all the closed units. I don't understand why the councils don't do this on a profit share, in as much as get people in, register their businesses, and when times are good they pay a bigger rent, and then when times are bad they pay a lower rent. And by having a registered business, it means accounts have to be looked at and therefore can't be fiddled. Well, if you need a bag, this seems to be the place to come to. Bags galore. In defense of the indoor market, I seem to have picked a day when the outdoor market is shut. Ah, here we go, looking up. There's a bit of architecture. You know me and my architecture. And what's below it? Looks like a shopping arcade. Although I don't think somehow this one is particularly arcading away merrily. It looks like it's just a cut-through thoroughfare. Got a gambling den. What more does one want? But no, this looks like it's just a thoroughfare. Quite interesting though, all the same. And as we emerge, an interesting thing over there. Too lazy to go and see what it is. And then we've got the Spindles shopping centre. Just like anywhere else, it's just a shopping centre. And then down the street here, oh, and I spy some architecture. By the way, the arcade that I just wandered through was called the Hilton Arcade. Yes, here's that building. Fine looking building it is too. It sadly seems to be closed. Well, not necessarily closed, but not in use. Let's go up behind because I've spied something I think is of interest. Oh, welcome to the Up Steps Inn. I wonder, is that wheelchair friendly or woke or whatever? This seems to be the old, more traditional part of the town from what I can see. Let's go up towards the parish church. Well, I know I must be going the right way towards the parish church because this is called Church Lane. The salt cellar looks quite an interesting building. Sorry about the converging verticals. There's no room in this here laneway. Because I can't get a decent angle, this looks actually quite imposing. And here on Church Terrace, there's a bit of a memorial to those who have received the highest military honour, the Victoria Cross. A set of memorial tablets on the walls of the exterior of the church here, and it must be a You'll Never Walk Alone church because I spy here that it's named St. Mary with St. Peter. There's also a Second World War memorial here outside the church, together with some other interesting architecture. This older part of the town seems to have a fairly rich mixture of architecture. And sorry, we're going into the sun now. This is an impressive looking building over yonder. Let's go and investigate what that's all about. They're good here on their memorial plaques in Oldham. It's nice to see honouring those who have fallen. Well, there's an Odeon iSense beside this building I spied from across the road. And I've since discovered that despite not having any adverts outside, this magnificent columnified building is, are you ready? Wait for it. It's a Costa. There are some blue plaques. Let's go up these steps. I'll just keep an eye on the steps so I don't have an accident. And there we go. The Charter of Incorporation as a borough. And on the other side, I'll let you read it for yourself. One of the more famous people associated with Oldham. In fact, probably one of the most famous. And then just a little bit of a panorama that includes the parish church and that other building, Cafe East, that we saw before, and then it goes down to a more brutalist, modern shopping centre area, that is. Right, while I'm taking a breather, let's run through some of the luminaries from Oldham. And apologies if I have to read it, but it's only a part list, this. I mean, if you look on the internet, there are so many people who hailed from Oldham. Eric Sykes, the comedian and writer, he came from here. Bernard Cribbins, Mark Owen from Take That. Christopher Biggins, well, you've got to have Christopher Biggins, haven't you? Philip Schofield, we don't mention him. Sarah Lancashire from Coronation Street and other fine series. Tony Radican, he was Chief of Defence Staff, head of the British Armed Forces. There's Kelvin Fletcher, he's from Emmerdale. Bobby Ball, hey, rock on Tommy. Anne Kirkbride, Deirdre from Coronation Street, and her father, it must be added, was the cartoonist. There's Nick Grimshaw from Radio 1, Barbara Knox, also from Coronation Street, she was Rita. Olivia Cook. There's Henry Taylor, the Olympic swimmer. Shobna Gulati, she's also Coronation Street. Walter Winterbottom, he's the very first manager of the England football team. Kevin Sinfield, he's the current skills and kicking coach. Yes, yeah, for the England national rugby team, rugby league, I must say. And finally, William Walton, the composer. They're just a few of the famous luminaries from here. The list just goes on. Maybe they were trying to escape. I don't know. A local lady overhearing me doing my little homage there said that, well, it's not that people came from Oldham, it's just they escaped from Oldham. Isn't that sun lovely? Interesting, in Oldham, when I was here, I bought a ticket for Anderson, Wakeford, Bruford and Howe. You know, the remainders of Yes. They were doing an evening of Yes songs back in 1988 down in Wembley Arena. And bus fare, a ticket for 8 rows back at Wembley Arena. It was the wonderful sum of about 20, if I remember rightly, £29, which current rates comes to £73 to £75. And it just shows you how much things have inflated since the parasites of Ticketmaster and Viagogo have got on the scene. And also this surge ticket pricing, which really is just nothing but a rip-off. But then again, idiots go and queue and buy the tickets and sit on their computers. They only have themselves to blame. If they stop buying the tickets and stop going to the shows for a little while, perhaps Ticketmaster and the stars might learn a valuable lesson. Coming behind the Odeon, actually, in fairness, the front there that we saw before, where I had to sit down, was the old town hall, and quite a magnificent building it is too, as you can see, going up to the parish church where we've just come from. A nice little balcony for official waving duties. And there's some of the old signs. Borough treasurer and overseer. I'm not sure what an overseer is. Maybe he's just somebody who tries to whip the council employees into shape of some sort. Well, if you're shy, that's the place to get your shoes. Oh, I didn't realise. It's a Spoons. And that's an interesting concept I'm not familiar with. German doner kebabs. And done right, no less. Just as well they're not Italian, otherwise they'd be kebabs, a doner, right. Doner, right. Oh, never mind, please yourselves. Rhode Island coffee. Goodness, I wonder, do they do chicken sandwiches? Think about that for a moment. Rhode Island, chicken sandwiches. Just run it past yourself once more. This is the very pleasant Spindle shopping centre. Lovely, bright and airy. Can't go too far because not allowed to do videos in here. Well, particularly for the jewellery shops, I don't mind. And look at that for a fabulous roof. Not expected to see that in a local town centre. Another interesting mock Tudor style thing, and I'm just wondering, I can see up in the window there, there seems to be some sort of intriguing domey light thing made of glass. From what somebody told me, this is the old Woolworths, as was, for those that you remember. Yes, typically Woolworthsy looking building. Oh, to heck with Z's at the end of words instead of S's. This has made my day. Another little bit of historical significance. Gosh, those poor Oldham owls on plinths haven't got much of an outlook, have they? Looking onto those construction fabricated buildings. I wonder, do they realise the irony of their trading name? Here on Union Street, the old Science and Art building that, not attached, but was associated with the old town hall that you can see further up. And here on Union Street, shame that it's an old building there that's in repair. That's next to the United Reformed Church. And then another interestingly finished off building. Very strange sort of lookout nests on top of it. They're also bringing the original old library back into use. Wonderful building. And locating the rather well-known, being interrupted by a bus, the rather well-known Oldham Coliseum that closed a while back. The old tram goes past at a fair lick. I'm not too sure if it strikes back, but I'm not going to hang around to find out. Ah, memories. I used to work there upstairs. It was an agency. This used to be the beating commercial heart, that is, professional businesses of Oldham back in the 80s. I may be wrong, and unfortunately, as you can see, the street is deserted of any form of population at all, because I'm nearly definite that used to be the offices of the Oldham Chronicle, where I used to spend some time. I just can't remember. It's faded after 35 years, I'm afraid. Goodness, I didn't realise people were getting so disenfranchised with the BBC. Well, I don't think so much as laid by Arthur Wrigley, but stood up, I would have thought, because there's the path, there's the stone, and there's the building. And as we come down to the tram stop, this is Mumps. I'm not too sure where measles and rubella are, but this is the second interchange in Oldham, the bottom of the town centre. And the road up there, that's the escape route to the rather pleasant Saddleworth Moor, and out onto the M62, and a bit of an owl pedestrian crossing going on there. Looking a bit ghostly, if I say so myself. And another old vestige of architecture in days gone past, very ominously shoved in front of the Oldham stagecoach depot that we can see if I just wander over here. And a very large, underutilised pay and display car park. Bit of a cheek, really, if you expect people to come along and leave their car and take the tram. Well, provide parking for them. Well, thank you for joining me on my little trip to Oldham. I hope you enjoyed it.